Right, today I want to delve into news that's left me confused, and that's the fact Apple still plans to release a new MacBook Pro with M3. Yes, you heard me right. I know you might be confused, and let's try and make some sense of this, I guess. So German recently told us a lot about the upcoming MacBooks, specifically MacBook Air updates I've delved into in previous videos, but mentioned in this report is also Apple's plan to keep the 13-inch MacBook Pro, which I'm completely confused about. You see, back in the day, the base MacBook Pro made sense because the MacBook Air was underpowered if you wanted to use this for anything other than very light usage, and the proper MacBook Pros were great, but very expensive for those looking to get into creative work, like photo or video editing, so it made sense to start off with the base Pro because that was much cheaper but still offered good enough specs for most prosumers. However, then in 2020, Apple gave us the mighty M1 chip, and this changed things completely because now you could get the base M1 and use this as a Pro machine. It just chews through any Final Cut or Logic Pro project without any issues. I currently have an M1 and I have no plans to upgrade it yet because it's so bloody good. And so when the Air's this good, the base Pro kinda becomes redundant. This was especially the case with the M2 MacBooks because the Air now had a new design with MagSafe, a better webcam, new colors, and the MacBook Pro was still based on the 2016 design language with the thicker bezels, less ports, and also the touch bar. And since the M2 Air got more expensive, they were now very close in price, and so many of us were puzzled why Apple even released the base Pro, including myself. The only possible reason that could justify it is M2 running a little hotter than M1, and so maybe some need the fans the base Pro has, but I know many using the fanless M2 Air with absolutely no issues, so the base Pro is still pretty redundant. And by the way, would like to remind you guys, like this video and subscribe for more content like this, it would be appreciated. Now of course, we have new MacBooks on the way, specifically the 15-inch MacBook Air, and many of us assumed this would replace the base Pro in the lineup because now for the slightly higher price, instead of getting a MacBook with an older design, you can now get the same design with a bigger display. Also, it would be way too messy to have the 13-inch Air, the 13-inch Pro, and the 15-inch Air together in the lineup, but it seems Apple does not agree with that because, as I said, German now says an M3 version of the base Pro is in the works. And yeah, I'm just puzzled by this news because if this is still in the lineup, where exactly is the 15-inch Air gonna fit? Initially, I thought the 13-inch Air would drop to $1099 and the 15-inch would be $1299, which is the current price of the 13-inch Pro, so if it's still in the range, does that mean the 15-inch Air could be more expensive? Because then it would not make a ton of sense to get this. But putting that aside, I just don't see the incentive Apple has by releasing this. Yes, you could argue Apple has tons of stock left of these older MacBook Air chassis they want to shift, but surely they want Apple Silicon to be a fresh start, and so keeping around a MacBook with an older design language looks pretty odd in the range. Also remember, this has a touch bar which Apple and developers will likely not support for long since Apple has got rid of it from newer models, so they should just pull the plug on this and simplify the range. I really want to see the sales numbers for this, to be honest, because many requested Apple to get rid of this when the M1 models dropped, and the fact we now have an M2 version and an M3 version on the way is truly puzzling, so maybe sales are really that good for the base Pro, but I do have my doubts about that. Anyways, let's now delve into your questions. So Promo says, touch bar should definitely come back on the Pros as an option, would be nice. Many were disappointed. Now obviously there are going to be people holding on to this feature, but clearly Apple's now focused on function over form with these new MacBooks, and so with the impracticality of the touch bar, it would not make sense to bring this back. We know how it lags and freezes, and ultimately these Pros want stability, which is what regular function keys offer, so yes, it's time to kill this feature completely. And I'm partly surprised Apple still wants to keep it around because with iPhones, 3D Touch was loved by a vocal minority, but they got rid of it pretty quick to give us bigger batteries, and so Apple should just prepare the small audience who loves the touch bar to live without it by getting rid of it on all models. Also, the touch bar and those 2016 era MacBooks gave them a lot of bad press so getting rid of this machine during the Apple Silicon era personally makes a ton of sense. So Josh has the M1 iMac, and he would love to see an iMac Pro, ProMotion, OLED, more ports, would convince him to upgrade. And fair enough, especially OLED, if we see that on the iMac Pro somehow, that would be nice, though I do have my doubts because producing a massive OLED panel on the scale Apple needs is a little difficult, so it's more realistic we see mini LED on this, but either way, ProMotion, more ports, and additional power would be nice. And hopefully we also get black bezels. So Journey Stan says, Apple's going to keep the same design for the next 10 years. The way the world economy is at the moment, they might actually lower the color options. And that is a very fair point. In fact, even before the recession, the iMac rarely saw design changes, and so yes, expect the M1's design to remain the same for the next few years. And yes, you're right, we could see less color options, since these machines are not as popular as the MacBooks and other desktops, and so having so many SKUs might not be worth it. So user says, when is Apple going to bring back the logo on the front? And I don't think we're ever going to see that. Yes, it would be nice if the logo returns. I personally prefer the look of the iMac with the logo on the front, but since the iMac's design is so recognizable without the logo on the front, Apple thinks there's no need for it. And that's basically what Josh says. He replied, they're not. Their design language is so well known that they don't need a logo on the front. It's cool to see how Apple's confident with their designs, and the same philosophy can be seen in the M1 MacBook Pros, where the MacBook writing is no longer beneath the display. And yeah, that is a fair point. Apple's designs are so iconic, they don't need any sort of writing on the device. In fact, we saw this with iPhones a few years ago because up until the iPhone 11, we had the iPhone text on the back of the device, but Apple got rid of that because they did not need it. The iPhone was instantly recognizable, so that's definitely the case with the iMacs. So Mike says, would it kill Apple to return missing ports and the SD card reader? Now I'm expecting that to make a return with the iMac Pro because most buying the regular iMacs don't need the additional ports. So basically expect what Apple did with the MacBooks, where the Pros got all the ports back, but the regular models, those still had limited peripherals. So Quentin Daniel says, no interest in the Mac Pro, waiting for the Mac Studio with the M2 or M3 chips, and fair enough, I can understand that because this Mac Pro will likely be pretty expensive, where only some pros can justify getting it, and the Mac Studio instead caters towards prosumers like most of us. I also pray that Apple does not change a lot with the Mac Studio in the future, because if they start downgrading it to upsell consumers to the Mac Pro, I will be annoyed. Anyways, let me know your thoughts regarding this in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.